Hi everyone. तो इस वीडियो में I'll be sharing my interview experience at IIT Hyderabad for PhD in physics. तो why is this interview unique? तो इस इंटरव्यू में मुझसे जो क्वेश्चंस थे वो सारे क्वेश्चंस मेरे मास्टर्स थीसिस प्रोजेक्ट और स्पेशल पेपर से पूछे गए. मतलब IIT रोपड़ या जैसा मैंने पिछली वीडियो में बताया या फिर IIT इंदौर का मैंने एक्सप्लेन किया, उसमें मतलब या तो फिज़िक्स से पूछे गए थे या फिर मेरे मतलब ओवरऑल इंटरव्यू था. IIT हैदराबाद में इट वाज वेरी मच कंस्ट्रेंड टू माय थीसिस प्रोजेक्ट, मास्टर्स थीसिस प्रोजेक्ट, एंड a lot of details were asked from that, whatever I did in my master's project. The interview went for around 25 minutes or so, and there were a lot of questions in that. So of course the first thing was to introduce myself, but they specifically asked me to tell things such as the workshop I attended, what are the projects I did if I had any, and are there any winter school that I attended. So these were the three main things they wanted to know, and also any special paper which I have studied, which I had studied in my masters. So I told them that my project was in the gravitational wave data analysis aspect, specifically constraining equation of state of neutron star from gravitational wave observations. So this was the title of my master's thesis project. So after that the questions were majorly from my project itself. So they started from very basics, such as very basic astrophysics questions related to my master's project, and that was what is the equation of state, what is the equation of state of laptop, what is the equation of state of photon gas, what is the equation of state of dark energy, what were the packages I used in doing the data analysis, what was the coding platform I used, which papers I read, did I know about NICER experiment. There's a NICER experiment for constraining equation of state, and then he asked how do you measure gravitational waves in terahertz frequency. So as you can see that the questions were revolving around the major theme of my project, that is gravitational waves from neutron stars, and especially constraining equation of state of neutron stars. So they asked about equation of states, they asked about gravitational waves, and they asked a lot about neutron stars also. They also asked how do you find 1 sigma, 2 sigma, and 3 sigma from a data set. Did you do any statistical course? And then they asked few questions from astrophysics, such as how do you measure sun's temperature, so Wien's displacement, of course. There were a lot of more cross questions on my answer which I am not able to recall, but they were related to my thesis project itself. And then other professors started asking, have you heard about Atlas experiment? Then what do you know about LHC? Can we differentiate between dark matter and dark energy? What are their origin? How do we know it's there? Then they asked about neutron stars. How is gravitational waves produced from neutron stars? So the data, yeah, of course they asked me about the data, from where I got my data, and what equation of states I used. I mean, they nearly asked everything from my thesis. It was like I was reading just whole thesis to them, every detail. And of course they asked me also more questions related to neutron stars, such as can isolated neutron stars produce gravitational waves? If yes, then how? If no, then why not? And then there was this one question, what reaches first, neutrino or photon in supernova? So of course I gave wrong answer because I didn't know about it. I said the photon because it travels at speed of light, but neutrinos reach first because photons are actually just bounded in the shell of supernova, while the neutrinos, they interact very weakly with the shell, the matter around it, and they just propagate nearly at the speed of light, while the photons are actually trapped inside that shell and they are released after some time. So that is the thing. And right, so, and yeah, so the last question was actually from my from physics. So the professor finally asked, finally, so what are the two topics you are comfortable with? So I told, okay sir, it's classical mechanics and electrodynamics. So he asked only one question from that, how do you represent a point charge particle, right? So as a charge density, so it will be a Dirac data function, right? That's it. So they said, okay, fine, thank you man for joining. This was the interview, and there were a lot of cross questions which I was not able to write it down. I am not able to recall, but as you can see that if the panel is dedicated to know your thesis project, they will grill you like hell. And hell, I mean, they will be asking a lot of questions from that. So be prepared, be well prepared with all the projects if you have done anything, and read very fundamental things, and of course the history part, read it very carefully. You'll be asked a lot of questions from that, every step and every techniques which you use, all the problems you faced in between, if you had any, how were you able to achieve that kind of heavy data analysis, for example. They asked me that where did you do this analysis, right? So they'll be asking you everything. They will just want to know how much you have actually learned from that and how much you have actually contributed to the given research, right? So so prepare well if you have any thesis project, or if you have done any winter schools, if you have done any project for like summer summer research internship or winter ones. So definitely prepare it very well, because if the panel is actually interested in your project, then they will definitely leave your basic physics part and just start asking questions from that itself. Because if we go logically, then then we find that this is I think a more logical thing to do. Because if you are going to do research in astrophysics and you have done a small project or anything in that, then the faculty would like to know that if the person is able to execute, if he is able to perform a research in their domain, and has he learned anything from that kind of that time duration in which he pursued his research. So just prepare well, and all the best, of course, for the interviews. Of course, as the just results will be out soon, and the interviews will be starting back again. Okay, so I'll be uploading more videos, I'll be sharing more interview experiences one by one, and whatever I have learned from those. So just stay in touch, and goodbye, all the best.